Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Private Jessica Kavanagh. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Major General Paul Tedman, Commander, UK Space Command from the United Kingdom, accompanied by Major General Gregory Novak, Defence Space Commander, Australia. We also warmly welcome 1st Recruit Training Battalion, E Company, 41 and 42 Platoon, Kapooka, New South Wales. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Shenton College visiting from Shenton Park, Western Australia, and students on behalf of Walford Anglican School for Girls visiting from Hyde Park, South Australia. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Students and those who are able to do so, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they have done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us during war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Second Lieutenant Vivian Gilbert Garner. Vivian Garner was born in 1890 in Talbot, Victoria. He was one of 8 children born to cab proprietor James Garner and his wife Helen. Vivian received his early education at Talbot State School and later attended Austral College. After he left school, he moved to Melbourne to work for Victorian Railways. He was a clerk there when the First World War broke out in 1914. Vivian Garner was among the first young men in his district to enlist. He joined the Australian Imperial Force on the 18th of September 1914 and was assigned to A Company of the 14th Infantry Battalion with the rank of corporal. After a short period of training, he embarked from Melbourne for active service on the 22nd of December, sailing on the troopship Ulysses. After several weeks at sea, Corporal Vivian Garner arrived in Egypt. He and his comrades spent the next months training for attack on the enemy position in the Dardanelles. This attack began on the 25th of April 1915 as Allied forces began landing at several places on the Gallipoli Peninsula. Garner and the 14th Battalion were immediately engaged in defending and consolidating the Anzac position. In early May, Turkish forces began trying to break through Allied lines, trying to push them off the peninsula before they could entrench themselves. Garner's unit repulsed several attacks around Courtney's Post in Monash Valley, often coming up against hundreds of determined enemy troops. During one of these attacks, Garner suffered a direct hit to his chest. He was evacuated to Egypt for treatment at a hospital at Alexandria. After a month, he was sent to another hospital in England. By the time Garner was released from hospital in early 1916, the campaign on Gallipoli had been abandoned. Rather than rejoining his unit in Egypt, he was promoted to sergeant, and in May was attached for duty with the administrative headquarters in London. He saw out the remainder of the year there, which spared him the horrors of the fighting on the Somme. In January 1917, Garner was selected for officer training and was sent to Oxford to train with No. 6 Officer Cadet Battalion. At the end of April 1917, he was commissioned as second lieutenant and then posted to general reinforcements before making his way to the Western Front in mid-May. He rejoined the 14th Battalion after the 4th Brigade's disastrous attack on Bullecourt a month earlier. He and his comrades spent the next month training before moving to Belgium in June, where they took up positions around Messines Ridge. Over the following weeks, the 14th Battalion held the line at several locations, where they endured frequent shelling and regular gas attacks from enemy lines. In early August, Garner's battalion returned to positions around Messines, following a major attack there in June, which had destroyed the German front line. They were preparing to relieve the 16th Battalion in the front lines, and on the 8th of August, Garner ventured out with some of his men to reconnoitre the area they would be holding. They completed their task and were returning to their lines when an enemy sniper began firing. The group of men dashed towards the company headquarters in a nearby pillbox. But once they had reached safety, they noticed that Garner was not with them. One of his men recalled, "We went back the way we'd come and found him dead about halfway between the pillbox and the front line. A bullet in the jaw had cut his throat, and I think he must have been killed at once. We took him to the HQ pillbox and buried him there about 10 o'clock that night." After the war, Garner's final resting place could no longer be located. Today he's commemorated on the Menin Gate Memorial in Ypres, among thousands of others who have no known grave. Second Lieutenant Vivian Garner was 27 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Second Lieutenant Vivian Gilbert Garner, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
For those who are able, I now invite you to please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and wish you all a very pleasant evening.